I think one of the surprises in Thailand over the past 5-10 years really is that you do have these bursts of political instability. The economic data basically never shows any blip in response to this. 3 years ago we had some quite serious trouble in the middle of Bangkok. You basically can't see a trace of this in any of the macro numbers. I think the other thing to remember at the moment is that there's a clear shift in FDI flows away from China and towards the rest of Southeast Asia. And within that, Thailand does seem to be one of the favoured destinations. So I'd be really surprised if this has any material impact on investment flows. I don't think the Thai economy is going to be affected by these riots, and even the Thai markets. If you look 3 years ago, you cannot see a trace of all of the troubles in the behaviour of the Thai stock market 3 years ago. So at the moment it has sold off a little bit on some degree of risk aversion, but I think it will be very surprising if it becomes any sort of sustained problem for them. Well, I suppose worst case scenario would be change of government, or as we've seen in the past 20 years, even some sort of military takeover. I think that's very low possibility because this is a democratically elected government with a very solid majority, and they're not up to any of the controversies that we saw when Thaksin was in power a few years back. So I think the most likely scenario is you have a bit of trouble, and then in the end they can reach an accommodation, everything calms down. I think the real, if you like, more interesting downside risks seem to be very low probability. I mean, obviously, when there's such negative headlines, it's going to put people off in the short term. But I think the fundamental story for Thailand is still very good. The stock market is not cheap, but it's not particularly expensive. So I think in the next month or so, I'd expect people to use this as a buying opportunity to pick up some decent companies at relatively depressed prices. I think the Philippines looks particularly good at the moment. They really seem to be benefiting from reform. Indonesia maybe is a little bit overheated, and there's a lot of focus on the elections taking place in the middle of next year, and whether that brings some version of instability into Indonesia. But I think people investing in Thailand, they know there's always going to be political risk out there. They're accustomed to it, and it doesn't seem to have much impact on the overall behaviour of the economy. So I don't think it's going to be a big problem for them.